The vignette that I would like to share as the follow-up lesson to my Causes of World War I lesson that I shared in the previous module would be to include a CRQ in class or in person with students the following day or the next time that we met. Here in New York, a CRQ is a constructed response question where students have to be able to analyze a series of documents and then explain the interconnection between them. It's a very, very challenging task as they work through questions on contextualization, reliability of a source that goes far beyond just identifying it as primary or secondary, identifying and understanding who the audience of the document is. It could also include purpose and point of view. Having the content, if you will, out of the way, where students have already grappled with mania or the causes of World War I, had taken time to write and put things together, and had explained the interrelations that they saw leading up to, the events of 1917. Having all of that out of the way would really free up an exorbitant amount of time in class to work on this skill-based learning. I think that's what I'm most excited about with outlining these new objectives, to take the content out of it and really free up the time for students to work on this in class, giving me the opportunity also to work with students individually or in small groups as they worked on these skills. So here in part 2, document 1, as you can see, is a map of World War I alliances. Instantly, based on the previous lesson, students should be aware of what an alliance is and what the two sides of the war, the two sides of the war was. Here they have to explain how the geographical context affected the development of alliances. So they need to be able to not only analyze the map, but also pull back in the context that they should have from the previous lesson. After that, they're going to document 2, which is an excerpt from Origins of the World War by Sidney Bradshaw. Here, they're looking at the point of view, right, of this author. What did Bradshaw have to say in regards to the war breaking out? So it's an identification and an explanation. And then looking at his book and determining whether or not they feel the source is reliable. It is not acceptable for students to just say it's a primary or secondary source. They have to go to what was said here in the excerpt that is true, and then they would have to also connect that back to the previous lesson using the evidence, right, that they can use to support the claim of reliability. Ultimately, what students will end up doing is indicating they feel that the source is reliable, somewhat reliable, or not reliable based on what they've put together. And then ultimately, or lastly rather, they're going to identify and explain the cause and effect relationship between the events or the ideas found in these documents. So again, connecting document 1 to document 2 as to why these alliances are going to lead to European war breaking out. I love the juxtaposition from what I ask students to do in the flipped lesson when they were out of class or what they were doing virtually in terms of watching video, reading text, identifying key information, synthesizing or summarizing that key information into the graphic organizer that was provided. Also, them already putting things together themselves in terms of their own writing and having a very good understanding of the causes, and then applying it to this document-based skill-based learning, I think is just, it's next level stuff that I'm really, really excited about.